I love playing video games. I've always loved playing video games. I've been doing it ever since I was a kid. I've grown up my entire life playing video games, and I guarantee you most other people probably have too, especially you if you clicked on this video. I know that the market has changed, and a lot of things have changed, for better or for worse. So, can somebody legitimately explain to me the sentence, gaming doesn't hit the same? I genuinely don't understand what people mean by that. I set a poll out recently on my channel, and I asked the question, have you ever felt the feeling of games aren't fun anymore? Or you ever said the phrase, gaming doesn't hit the same anymore? And a surprising amount of people said, it depends on the mood. And that got me thinking. I don't think people actually think gaming doesn't hit the same. I think they're just bored with what they're doing with their games. What do I mean by that? Well, how many times do you play video games? Do you have a giant collection? A bunch of games. Let's say your backlog. You haven't even thought about playing any of them. Have you ever sat down and legitimately said to yourself, yeah, I'm gonna try out one of those games I haven't played yet? Or have you gone to the same game that you always play almost every day, or a comfort game, let's say? You play the same types of games and then claim the games aren't fun. Most people, when I see them talking about it, are showing the same couple games in those videos, especially if it's like a YouTube short or a TikTok. They're showing themselves playing a shooter, which, don't get me wrong, I think shooters are really fun. But it's such an oversaturated genre, especially if you're not trying to look for differences in that genre. If you really think that it doesn't hit the same anymore, or if you're bored with your shooters or whatever, literally play different games. I understand that sounds scary and the anxiety of trying something new and it being unfun for you. Find a reference to something that you have enjoyed in a different genre. I know it's kind of a bad way to compare a game because that's really all you can ever go off of, but it's better than just not trying a new genre out entirely. Try out some platformers, some RPGs, some tactics, strategy, puzzle, simulations, fighting games. If you're really that bored, try new things. It's not gonna hurt you that much. I know it won't, because you most likely buy the newest game, don't finish it, and go back to the other games you've already finished a bunch. And I know it's scary to think about, oh my gosh, what if I finish my backlog? What if I don't have any new games to play?
What do you mean by that?
First of all, my brother in Christ, that ain't never gonna happen. We already know you're not gonna finish your backlog. And two, just emulate. If you really think you can't play these games and you have a PC, just go emulate. I know most of you guys have a PC. I know most people do have PCs. Just go emulate. Now, I might seem like I'm playing devil's advocate, and I might seem like the type of person that advocates for the scummy practices of AAA gaming nowadays. No, I don't. I actually really hate that. I don't spend money on a video game unless it's one, a game that I've already spent money on, or two, a game that I know that I'm genuinely going to enjoy whatever I spent that money on. Free-to-play games, it makes sense for them to have microtransactions because it's a free game. They have to make money somehow. But you have a lot of these not free games that are making microtransactions. Money! And I always hear people say, I really hate these microtransactions because back in the old days, I could have earned this through actual gameplay. And while that is true, back in the day, you might have been that was definitely a thing you could do. That doesn't happen anymore because companies want to make money more so than they want to make a fun game. At least a good majority of them. There are still people out there and companies who make games to make games. But I want to ask you a question. How do you think we got to the point that microtransactions are so bad? If your answer was anything other than it's the consumer's fault, you're like half right. It's also the company and business's fault. Have you ever heard the phrase, vote with your wallet? I've heard that specifically used and applied to video gaming. Oh man, we don't want this game to do well, so we'll vote with our wallets and not purchase it, not spew its microtransaction bullshit. And then it still goes on to sell over 10 million copies. We've already voted with our wallets so long ago. Do you remember? I don't remember which Oblivion Skyrim game it was, but they had that dumbass gold horse armor. And people were in a fucking tizzy about that. They were genuinely upset that this cosmetic item for like $5 was even a thing. People were genuinely upset about that. Now you have skins like that are even more expensive. Something like Valorant. Fucking $100 for a skin. Get that bullshit.
What?
This mostly applies to the companies that do this. EA, Ubisoft, Activision, where they make the same games almost every year with slight tweaks and differences, and then said games end up being the highest grossing of the year. Yeah, nice job voting with your wallet, guys. I'm not saying I haven't fallen into this pit trap. I know I have. I know a lot of people have. But to say that we as gamers can fix this issue with how complacent we've gotten, I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon. And you know what makes it even worse? Businesses know this. They've caught on to the fact that we've become very complacent in our video game wants and maybe needs. They know that we want the older stuff back because that's what a lot of us yearn for, the good old days. So then they do remake those. And guess what? It makes a lot of money, which makes the businesses think, oh, well, we can milk them. We can milk them. Companies back then had to take a risk on a game because it wasn't solidified yet. A lot of these companies and businesses weren't solidified yet. And even if they were, every game was a gamble because back then it was either innovate or die. Nowadays, what do you innovate on? Well, first off, the gameplay. But a lot of the times they focus on the graphical fidelity, how well it runs, how it looks. What do you do in the game rather than what makes it fun doing those things in the game? And I think even the consumers don't care what makes it fun anymore. Which brings me to my final point. I could understand all of the other reasons that I laid out before you. However, this last one, truly, I cannot comprehend. Gaming isn't fun anymore. I'm sorry, but can somebody explain to me what isn't fun anymore? I'd understand if it's the microtransactions. I'd understand if it's the bullshit business practices. I'd understand if it was anything about the game being broken, buggy. I can understand that. I can also understand the game just not being fun. What I can't understand is that, in general, games aren't fun. What do you mean? There are a lot of fun games out there. A lot of amazing games. Masterpieces. Old and new. Ugly and gorgeous. And this all connects back to my previous points. You haven't bothered to go out and find them, whether it be through legitimate business practices of going out and buying these older systems, emulation. Go play the games. The reason you might not have to be having fun is because you're not trying to have fun. And I think a big portion of that is due to how big esports has become. Think about all the competitive video games out there nowadays. Any battle royale, any shooter. I'll give fighting games a pass because that's like chess. It's what it was built for since like day one. But everyone takes gaming so seriously nowadays. I know the phrase, "Why are you taking it so seriously? It's just a video game," is one of the most annoying things you can hear while playing a video game. And in this context, it has a merit. Why do you take it so seriously? Especially when A, you're not making money off of it, and B, it's not your fucking job. I would understand it if it was either of those 2 points, but I know for a fact most people play video games for the relaxation, the enjoyment, the escapism. But then you throw it all away when you want to take the games that you play so seriously that you no longer have fun with them anymore. Remember when you were a kid and you played a video game? It didn't matter the quality of it, the graphics, hell, sometimes even the gameplay. You played it because it was just fun. even if it didn't make sense to you why it was fun. It was just fun. That's what I think a lot of people are missing nowadays. They're not trying to have fun. I think what fun is rediscovering the childlike wonder. It's gonna be difficult to discover that. People nowadays are looking at all video games under such a critical lens, and if it doesn't match up with all these AAA blockbuster hits, then it's not even really considered. When this may sound a bit complacent and not the best mindset, but you have to look at it like how your child self did. Why did he play video games? Because they were fun. It doesn't matter how critically acclaimed your game is, how amazing the story is, how gorgeous it looks. Because if your game isn't fun, why should I play it? It's like my man Reggie said.
If it's not fun, why bother?
Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe my thoughts aren't well developed. Maybe this point doesn't make any sense. Maybe you see it in a different light. If you do, please let me know. But I want to end the video off with a comment that I had made on that poll that I had done, because it summarizes how I feel about gaming and the enjoyment of gaming perfectly. I feel like anyone who says gaming is dead doesn't search for good games and just looks at the front page of the market. There's a ton of good games out there. You just gotta find them.